Hi everyone, my name is Ashish. I'm a doctor working in the UK. In today's video, I want to talk to you about something very important and something which is hugely ignored. And the topic is about your mental health. Working as a GP trainee, I see so many people who struggle with low mood issues and have been diagnosed officially with clinical depression. But I know a lot of people who are struggling with low mood issues and who are struggling with symptoms of depression, but they haven't been diagnosed with depression officially. So if you're someone who struggles with low mood issues, or if you're someone who doesn't actually suffer with low mood issues but wants to learn about these things, then this is the video for you. And even if you're someone who's not struggling with low mood issues, this video will help you identify your thought patterns which can lead to depression. And this video will really help you out, and it will help you to understand how you think, how you behave, and how your thoughts affect your emotions. Let's start with this video. What you see on the screen right now is called the Beck's cognitive triad, and this is the basis for cognitive behavioral therapy, which is the treatment for depression. The triad says that you have some thoughts, and these thoughts lead to your emotions, and your emotions lead to your behaviors, and this is more of a loop. So Professor Beck, who proposed this model, says that sometimes you can have these thought patterns or thought distortions which are not actually true, but these are not actually under conscious control. And if you start having these distorted thought patterns, which he calls cognitive distortions, they can end up making you feel quite sad, or you having negative emotions, and this will influence your behaviors. So it's very important to keep these cognitive distortions in mind, because once you know that your thought patterns are actually cognitive biases or cognitive distortions, it can be very easy to look through them, and you can very easily come out of them rather than getting trapped in this endless loop. So I want to talk to you about those cognitive distortions so that you do not get trapped in these. The first one is all or nothing thinking. Let's take an example of a person who went for an exam, but they couldn't do well in that exam. They failed, and now they think that their life is completely worthless. They are complete loser. They can't really do anything in their life. And once they start having all these thoughts, these will lead to negative emotions. They will feel sad, and then this will lead to negative behaviors. For example, they might not talk to other people, they might not go out, they might not eat food properly, and these are just behaviors which can then influence your thought again, and you can get trapped in this never-ending loop. So you need to realize that this is not logical. Everything in life is not black and white, it's gray. You can't have all or nothing thinking, because this is just a cognitive distortion. First of all, you can't succeed in everything which you do. And also, if you fail at one thing, it's not that you are a complete failure, because you might be doing a lot of other good things in other domains. So you need to realize that this is a trap, and this is the first cognitive distortion. The next thought pattern is overgeneralization. Let's take an example of a person who approached a girl and he asked her out, but she politely declined because she was already in a relationship. Now this guy might end up thinking that he's not good enough, and all the women will reject him, and he will end up getting lonely and miserable. Now this is a big logical fallacy, because the experiences with just one person can't influence your future, and you can't say that all the women in the world will reject you. And if you get into this thought pattern, and if you start overgeneralizing things, then you can end up getting trapped. So this is the second cognitive distortion. The next one is called mental filter, and this is one of the thought patterns in which you just focus on the negative things and you filter out the positive things. Let's take an example. If there's a person who went for an exam which was really tough and they ended up getting 50 questions wrong out of 200, but when the results were out, they found out that they got the 150 questions right and they scored really well in the exam. They can get trapped into having these thought patterns when they focus too much on the negative aspect of this. So they might end up feeling that they did so many questions wrong, and they might get stuck in this thought pattern and they might end up getting depressed. So this is the third cognitive distortion. The next one is disqualifying the positive. Let's take an example. Think about a day where you're going to work, you're wearing your day-to-day work clothes, but you meet a person on the way and they say that your t-shirt is really nice. Now this is something good which they have said, but if you have this thought pattern, you might feel that, oh, this person is just being nice. There is nothing good about my t-shirt. It's just regular. This is one of the thought patterns in which you are disqualifying the positive experiences which you have in your life. And this is something you should not get stuck into. So this is the next cognitive distortion. The next one is jumping to conclusions, and this is very common. Let's take an example. Let's say that you are texting one of your friends, but they never get back to you on that day. You might end up feeling quite sad about this behavior. You might feel that they don't care about you anymore, and you might feel that maybe your relationship with that person has gone down. But this is not logically true. I mean, there are so many possibilities. This person could be busy somewhere, or there is a possibility that their phone was not working, or maybe they installed the app on which you messaged. So there can be so many possibilities, and it's very easy to jump to conclusions, and this is one of the bad thought patterns or cognitive distortions. The next one is binocularization, and this is similar to you looking at your experiences with a binocular. So if you are stuck in this thought pattern, what you'll do, you will maximize or minimize. Let's take an example. If you are in a clinic and if you make a small mistake, what you might end up feeling is that you don't know anything, you don't have any knowledge, you don't have a lot of experience, you're not good enough, and what you're actually doing is you are maximizing on your weaknesses. You're just looking at all those experiences with a binocular and you are maximizing your faults. On the other hand, if you are in the same clinic and you do something good for the patient, you might just feel that, oh, this is just normal. This is something every doctor must know. And what you're doing here is you're looking to the other end of the binocular and you're minimizing your good experiences. So this is very easy to get trapped into. I've seen a lot of people doing this. The next one is emotional reasoning. Let's talk about this using an example. If you're preparing for an exam, there can be days where you might be feeling a bit low, and on those days, because you're having this emotion, you're feeling a bit low, you might end up thinking that this is a very difficult exam to crack, you're not good enough, you're inadequate, and you will never be able to clear this exam. And this is an example of emotional reasoning. This is not logically true because you are just making these assumptions on the basis of your emotions at that particular time. So this is one of the big cognitive distortions as well. The next one is should statements. Let's take an example. Let's say that you were driving to work on one of the days, but you got stuck in traffic and you end up reaching your hospital late. Now, you can start thinking in these patterns with these should statements that you should not be late to work because this is not a very good quality. And this can lead you to feel quite guilty and you can end up in this trap. So these are some should statements which you are telling to yourself, and these are in your mind. These can be about other people as well. For example, if you go and speak to someone and they were having a bad day, they were a bit rude to you, you might have these should statements about them, and you can think that they should not have said that or they should not have behaved this way. And all these thoughts are something which can make you feel very, very sad. So you should avoid having these should statements for yourself and for other people. The next one is labeling and mislabeling. I've seen this in a lot of people. Let's take an example of someone who went for an exam, they didn't do very well in that exam. They might end up labeling themselves as a bad student or as a loser. Now, this is such a big logical fallacy because this is just overgeneralization. You are simply labeling yourself with all these negative labels based on very, very selective experiences. You never label yourself as a drinker when you drink water. So why are you labeling yourself as a bad student when you didn't do really good in that exam situation? So this is again a very big cognitive distortion, and you should try to identify this and you should never label yourself. The next one is personalization. This is one of the thought patterns where you start blaming yourself for everything which happens in the external environments. For example, you are sitting in a clinic, you see a patient who struggles with high blood pressure. You give them some medication, you give them some lifestyle advice, and you follow up with them in a month. And when they come back, they are not in a very good state because their blood pressure is still very high. Now, there is a big chance that they might not be following your advice, they might not be taking your medications, or maybe their blood pressure needs to be controlled with some other way. But if you're someone who's stuck in this thought pattern of personalization, you might feel that you are not good enough. Maybe you have not given them the right advice or in the right way. So this is a defective thought pattern, and it's very easy to get stuck into this thought pattern. And this is the next and the last cognitive distortion. Those were all the cognitive distortions or the bad patterns of thinking. These are things which are not really talked about. And once you know about them, you can look through these thought patterns. Whenever you start having a bad thought, you should always question that thought. You should always challenge that thought. You should see whether that thought pattern is one of these cognitive distortions, and then you should logically try to see through that thought pattern. And once you start doing these things, these will really, really help you out in your life. I hope that this video was useful to you. Thanks a lot for watching this video. If you want to support my work on this channel, click on the like button, share this video, and subscribe to this channel. I hope that this video reaches lots and lots of people, and then they can look through their thought patterns and they can really get a lot of help. Thanks a lot. I'll see you soon.